Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr, and this is episode 228 of CryptoBiography, and it's part 20 of Snake Magic. I hope you're enjoying the story, and here we go. This idea was nothing she would have considered, or even likely imagined, when she was still a slave here. But now, having lived among her people, having climbed every day in their city, she could look at the wall with its rough brick and several half-pillars and other features, and immediately tell that she could climb that wall. No one was in the yard. Of course, as any slave would know, there was always a chance that one of the guards would decide to make a path through the yard, though they mostly stuck to the gate and the boundaries. Also, someone could, in one of the darkened rooms, be looking out at the relatively lighter moonlit yard. But she found she needed to find out what Caedmon was doing up there with his ill-gotten Nazareth orbs. Keeping her camouflage spell up, she moved slowly towards the wall underneath Caedmon's laboratory window. She felt, almost palpably, Heffred's gaze upon her back. She knew that Heffred would have kept a close eye on her, and knowing the camouflage trick, even in the distance and the dark, would be able to tell that Neidre had moved away from the kitchens for no clear reason. But she trusted that her friend would know she would not undertake this change of plan for no reason. She looked up. It was still a little intimidating, but she knew enough climbing tricks to understand she would be able to do this. She hoped she could do it and also keep her stealth up. She reached up, for this climb was steep enough that though her massive tail muscles would do most of the work, she would need to supplement with her hands and also make sure her upper body did not peel away from the wall, which had the potential to pull her entirely off the wall. She made her way slowly but surely up, finding bricks in the sides of the half-pillars to be useful in climbing, her tail feeling sure and strong all the way up. Soon her head was beside the window. She was pleased to find she had never dropped her spell. She had decided it would be better to peer in from the side rather than from the bottom of the window. It was smallish, perhaps not more than a foot in either direction, and had no way of opening. There was still a light inside, and while it was not terribly bright, she hoped that the eyes of the humans inside would not be able to easily see her or her outline when she looked. Camouflage was good and all, but against a skyline, it might have difficulty keeping the illusion. She slowly moved her head around the side of the window, fractions of an inch at a time. Finally, she could see inside. Caedmon had his back to her. He was at the same table that he had been when she'd been called up to his laboratory. His apprentices were looking at him, but not from across the desk. They were near the wall, rather far from the several candles on the desk, and behind them were 3 Nazareth, all chained to the wall. Neidre's heart stopped. She didn't know these Nazareth, but they were young, all of them without any magical coloration on their scales. She felt they must be slaves sold from the capital city, as she had been. The Nazareth must be part of Caedmon's plan, then, she decided. He must be using these Nazareth slaves to unlock extra power from the Nazareth magical orbs. She could tell Caedmon and the apprentices were talking, but couldn't make out what any of them were saying, so she didn't know exactly how Caedmon planned to use them, but if they were chained to the wall, it wouldn't be good. Though it added immeasurably to the danger and complication, she decided that something should be done. At least Heffred and the others should be told about this. She moved her head slowly again until it was completely out of sight of the laboratory and its occupants. Then she made her way down the wall. She stopped halfway down because the kitchen staff had finished cleaning up and were saying their goodbyes. The yard got a lot darker as the kitchen door was closed, but she found that she could feel the wall with her tail so well that she hardly needed to see. While stopped, she watched to see where Martha was going. It seemed to be the same room she had lived in before Neidre had escaped, though as it was around a corner, she couldn't be sure. When she got to the ground, she decided to put off seeing Martha in favor of updating Heffred on what was happening above. She kept her camouflage up, but moved quickly. With the kitchen door closed, The light was really low, and she didn't think it likely anyone would spot her. Soon she was in the trees. Heffred was over to her as soon as she was out of sight of the manse. "Are you okay? You went towards the main building." "Yes. I overheard Caedmon's apprentices. He's found some sort of new way to unlock the power of the Nazrak orbs he stole. I checked it out, and it looks like it involves Nazraks. There are 3 young Nazrak chained to the wall up in his laboratory." "I still want to take Martha with us, but do you think we have any way of bringing the Nazrak as well?" Heffred thought about this. "If we take Martha tonight, then the whole place will be like a beehive. We won't be able to come back to the grounds without being found, let alone rescue anyone else. But maybe we can take her tomorrow and also find a way to rescue them. It's going to be a lot more difficult, and I find it unlikely we'll be able to do it without immediately having the humans on our trail." She continued talking, clearly thinking aloud at this point, more than to Neidre. "Perhaps we can set up a couple of traps to slow them as they pursue us. There'll have to be something easy to rig, since we can't do it now and have them be discovered sometime during the day. But really, we should do all the rescuing tomorrow." "Okay, here's what we need," Neidre said. "Go to Martha, talk to her. Find out if she would like a life with us. If yes, great, let her know we will come tomorrow night, and then get any information you can about the Nazrak being held. Maybe she's taken food to them or something. And if she doesn't want to come, fine. But don't mention the other Nazrak. Maybe she knows something, maybe not. But if she doesn't want to come, we need to do this without alerting her beforehand. She might cause problems otherwise, even unwittingly." "Okay," Neidre said. "I'll go to her now." Within minutes, Neidre was at Martha's door. While it was slightly possible that Martha had changed quarters in the months since Neidre had left, it was quite unlikely. New rooms for slaves were not a priority. Long years of drudgery let her know that, though not much time had passed, Martha may have collapsed onto her bed in a deep sleep. On the other hand, a slave's rest was never a full one, and the slightest scratch at the door might mean trouble. She trusted to her intuition and made a very soft tap at the door with a whispered, "Martha." She heard some noise, and then, behind the door, which was hardly more than the plank she herself had used as a door, a hushed, "Who is it?" "Neidre." There was a silence, which Neidre took to be surprise. Then the door was pushed open a crack. Neidre could not see Martha because there was no light of any kind inside. "It is you." The surprise was there, even though the sentence was hardly more than a whisper. "Yes. May I come in?" "Yes." Martha pushed open the door and Neidre slid inside. Martha let the door close as quietly as possible. The room was tiny. Neidre had to coil herself just to make sure she didn't squeeze Martha out of her own room. She'd been in it a few times over the years, so this did not surprise her, nor did the simple bed made of straw which dominated the tiny space. "What are you doing here?" Martha asked. The door, such as it was, did not fit tightly, and their voices might be heard outside if anyone walked by, as guards occasionally did, so Martha had moved right up close to her and whispered in her ear. Neidre did the same back. "I came for you. You were the only one who was ever decent to me here. I've found a place among the Nazrak. If you come with me tomorrow, you can as well. There are other demi-humans there, and they're allowed to make their lives as they see fit." "You want to bring me there?" "Yes. I know you have no other place to go, ever. The humans took your family away as fully as they did mine. So you had no place to go, even if you escaped this state. But you can come with me, if you want to." Martha considered this. "I've never thought about leaving or escaping." "I know. But you're right. It was because there was nowhere to go, even if I left." Neidre waited. "Yes, please let me come with you." Neidre smiled, though Martha could not see it in the pitch-black room. "I'm happy. We will come back for you tomorrow night. Can you act normal during the day as though nothing will happen?" Yes, of course." Neidre knew that, though, Martha would be excited. Slaves sometimes had to conceal excitement or interest in events, so Martha could draw on this to prevent giving herself away. Good. I have something else to ask about. Did you know there are 3 young Nazrak on the estate? She felt Martha stiffen. Yes. Well, I haven't seen them, but Garrick and Thorne have talked about them. You don't know anything about them? No. Who brings them their meals? They're up in the laboratory. I don't know. I suppose Garrick and Thorne must be feeding them. We've had to make a lot of odd meals to be taken up by them to the laboratory. How long has that been going on? Martha thought. You know, Caedmon went to the capital a month ago. He came back after a week or so, and there was a closed carriage with him. No one saw who or what was in it. I suppose it was the Nazrak, so about 3 weeks or so. Okay. It sounds like they kept everything quiet. So no one will have any information, not more than you've given me. Thanks, Martha. What are you going to do? I don't know. I'm going to tell my Nazrak friends near the estate what you told me. Maybe we'll come up with a way to rescue those 3 young Nazrak. But no matter what, I'll come for you. I know magic now, Martha, so it's possible that any plan that we come up with will need me. If so, I may have you go with one of the Nazrak scouts. They're all decent people, and even if something happens to me, they'll see you get safely back to our people. That's my promise, and I'll relay it to them, okay? Okay, Martha said. You'd best make your way off the estate. I'll see you sometime after the kitchen closes tomorrow night. Exactly. Just stay here in your room and be ready to go. Pack a little if you must, but pack light. We have food and water. Every item I care about can be held in one hand. Excellent. Neidre slid to the door and listened intently, in case a guard was walking nearby. She heard nothing. She put on her camouflage spell and slowly pushed the door open, then slithered out and made sure it closed gently and silently before moving back towards her Nazrak brethren. She wondered if she would surprise them when she approached, but they seemed to have heard her coming. Neidre reminded herself that being camouflaged didn't mean being immune to detection. She relayed the small amount of information she had gleaned to Heffred. We'll come up with a plan for tomorrow, Heffred said. I think the first thing we should do is escort Martha away from the manse. I'll have a scout stay with her, who will also act as a backup for us. Or if things go really badly, a way to let the Nazrak know what happened. Neidre nodded, still as though shocked to know that Heffred understood that they were laying their lives on the line for the 3 Nazrak whom none of them had ever met. And that's the end of the story for this week. Obviously, things are quickly building up quite ahead of steam here. I hope you're enjoying it. I'm certainly enjoying writing it. If you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, CryptoBiography@gmail.com or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. And thanks for listening. Words and music, copyright 2021, CryptoBiography LLC, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.